Good evening, SRA Nation.
We're excited to get this season off with a bang.
I think they're all taking tires. And on top of that, it's going to be saucier. It's going to be an all-out shootout to the end. He's got line of sight on these guys.
I commend you for the bravery getting this close to the diffuser.
All you gotta do is win the race. You don't have to lead a whole bunch of laps.
Oh, they're going to be side by side going into the next corner.
Oh, that's a big contact in the back of the field.
Can't stay out there like this.
He stayed in it!
We're off and away for SRA.
Good evening, race fans. Welcome to another round 7 at the Red Bull Ring. We got some Division 1 racing from the SRA League tonight, and thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being with us. Good evening in the chat. Dudley Do right here in the booth to guide you through all the action tonight. With me, as always, Maxi Poe. Maxi Poe, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great tonight. I'm very excited for the Red Bull Ring tonight. I think we're going to have some incredible side-by-side racing tonight. And this track really doesn't lead to people building enormous gaps, so I think the viewers are in for a real treat tonight.
I agree. We should have some close racing for you tonight, and eager to see them take on this somewhat new to ACC track. First time SRA has raced on it, I believe, so we will see what the drivers could pull out. We can always count on these D1 boys to adapt quickly and give us one heck of a race. With that, let's take a look at our track. As we said, we are at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria. 4.3 kilometers around. That's just over 2.5 miles. Only 10 turns actually on this track, but every one of them very challenging. Some very tight hairpins with turn 3 and turn 4. Heavy braking zones into those. We expect to see lots of overtaking, and then the long sweepers. If you get side by side through those, you can lose a lot of time to the guy behind you, which, as Maxie was saying, can dissipate those gaps that we often see get built. Because if guys go side by side to race each other, they are going to lose time to the car behind them, and then you got a 3-car battle. Maxie, what corners excite you the most on this track as we take a look at it?
Oh, for sure, turn 4. Downhill braking, you have to be so brave on the brakes there. I think most likely that'll be the prime overtaking spot tonight. I know last week we saw a whole lot of penalties for track cuts. I don't think anybody's going to be pushing it too hard through turns 9 and 10. Those are the most notorious for track cuts, so I'm assuming people will be a little more cautious through there. So I'm going to be watching turn 4 for the major overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, very tempting to take a big run out of turn 10 onto the front straight to try to get an overtake into turn 1 as well. So very easy to get some track limits there. Hopefully we don't see too many people with the dreaded drive-through penalty, although it won't be nearly as consequential as we saw last week in Spa. Before we get started on the racing action, we got just a few people to thank here for helping us get this racing underway at SRA.
Yeah. A huge thank you to our SRA sponsors and title sponsors for supporting us here at SRA, as well as support from Documize, a modern business solution for product management. Go to documize.com to learn more today. And support from RetroSoft, a North American-based gaming company that provides accessories for your favorite classic systems, including Nintendo, Sega, PlayStation, and much more. Enhance your retro gaming experience today at retrosaga.ca.
That's right, and we also want to shout a big thank you out to our affiliate sponsors, Track Racer, Aramentario, and Go Setups. Track Racer helps you experience redefined gaming with Track Racer's high-quality sim rigs and accessories. I'm about to buy one right now, and I am going to use code SRATE at checkout to give a little bit of support to the SRA clan. Also, Aramentario, I've used it, and it is a toolbox for ACC that will just totally enhance your chance to win. You can fully customize your heads-up display and change everything about the way you experience ACC. We also use Go Setups, and they are just premium esports setups for everyone. You can use the affiliate link in our Discord and take your drive to the next level. All right, with that out of the way, we are about to get some qualifying underway. First, let's take a quick look at our standings. Manning still out in a commanding lead despite basically DNFing from last week's race. The rain at Spa did not suit him well. He took a drive through. His teammate, Mr. Sir, did finish well, so he closed the gap a little bit. Spangler still holding strong there in P3. Unfortunately, he took a drive through towards the end of the race last week as well, and it was disappointing for him because he was leading the race and had a pretty commanding grasp of the thing the whole time. So it was a shame to see him fall from that. Rados, fantastic race last week. And Dan Cran in P5 also had a great result last week. So we look forward to these drivers in our silver class. Maxie, who we got heating up over there?
Last week, we had an incredibly close battle going on. That is now stretched its legs out to 46 points from first to second. And second to third is still 5 points. So that's still up in the air. And we have tonight and one more race to go. But if you have a bad race, you know, somebody can leapfrog. I think Austin Carpenter and Michael Louie are really eyeing that first and second place. So that's who I'm going to be watching tonight in silver.
Fantastic. And at our team standings, Michael Manning, Mr. Sir have run away with that one. There's pretty much no closing that gap. I don't think it's even mathematically possible for anyone else. So congratulations to them on the team championship in Division 1. That's an awesome achievement, and great job to all the guys that competed as well. P2 going to Jeff Spangler and Kevin Lau, and P3 they could possibly still overtake for P2 in the team standings, but there are a look at your team standings. And with that, we are going to get to the race action. And I saw in the chat, I apologize, guys, I didn't adjust the music in the track map scene, and I know it was very loud. I apologize for that. So hopefully you could hear some of our thoughts on the track. If not, hopefully you will be able to hear us for the rest of the evening. And we have our mic ducking set up properly, so you can also hear the cars whenever we're not yakking our mouths. And we are going to get things going with a good look at some of our drivers. Our silver drivers are already out on the track trying to warm up their tires and get ready to set their hot laps as they get everything going around the Red Bull Ring tonight for Division 1 racing. I'm not super familiar with this track. Maxie, how often have you raced here?
I've raced a few times here. I think maybe a 1:26 could be a pole time tonight. Definitely in the 27s for sure. Fazli Majid here is on his first flyer, and the track limits here are a little confusing. Sometimes it's your red and white painted curb, and if you did all four wheels off there, you're done. Sometimes it's a yellow sausage curb. You never know, almost. So kudos to these guys if they can get a solid flying lap in around here.
Still have that fantastic looking livery on Fazli's car as he puts his Ferrari through the paces around this track for his first flying lap. And we will see what kind of qualifying times we will get out of these Division 1 guys. Yeah, Jess, we tried to adjust the mics. Maxie, is there any adjustments you can make on your end to make your microphone just a tad louder?
And how does that sound?
That's a little bit too loud.
Let's back it off 25%. How is that better?
That's pretty good right there. It's on a little bit high on the input end. Just maybe another 5% back on the input end.
Okay.
That sounds great right there, I believe.
All right.
We will confirm with our chat. Chat, how's Maxie sound now?
I'll get my deep voice on too.
sheesh, he says. Sorry, we're still airing out some kinks. We had a last-minute emergency. We are lucky that we got the stream up at all, but here we are, and we will do the best we can tonight. Realized that we were missing some of the content needed to stream the race tonight at about 9:01. We figured that out. So glad to be with you tonight. And we will see what these boys can do. I'm looking forward to the race. We definitely have some qualifying times coming in now. As we take a look at our telemetry, we've already got guys with 128.6 for their banker laps. That's Mr. Carpenter here in his Ferrari, with the very not appealing back end for a Ferrari, in my opinion. I will always stand by that, at least in this sim, the back end of that car does not look very good. I'm sure it looks fine in real life. Just for some reason, the way they put it together in this sim, I hate being behind that car. I always want to pass when I'm behind a Ferrari. But they are going quickly around this track for sure.
Bosley Majid, he is now on his second flyer. First one invalidated, and he's already invalidated this one.
Oh, no.
So it is a real struggle around here to get a clean lap in and put your car exactly where you need to be. And the turn 9 to 10 complex we were talking about in the build-up, you have to pick where you're putting your car completely blind. And if you don't put it in the exact right area, you're going to lose a half a second. And on a track that only has 10 corners, that's massive.
That is massive.
You have to be absolutely on the limit and fully committed, and just cross your fingers you're within those track limits.
Carpenter retakes the pole after getting bumped down by Wilson and Drevis, and they all now in the 128s, very close together there, but Carpenter did beat his previous best by almost half a second there, and he's on another lap now, thinking to go even faster possibly. Yeah, as Maxie was saying, difficult to keep your track limits here, and guys are going to have to watch out for that. A lot of the corners, as you said, are kind of blind as to where you're going to put your car, and at the same time, if you don't use up all the track limits as we see there, you can go all the way out to the outside of that curbing, and if you're not doing that, you're not going to keep up in D1.
No, not at all. And I'm here looking at these lap times right now. Was it the first race of the season where we had the top 30 covered by 1 second or 2 seconds? I believe it was 1 second. I think the top 30 was covered by 1 second. I think we might have another similar result here tonight.
Danny Durant's putting his Mercedes out on pole there with a fantastic lap, almost a 128 flat, only 300 separating him from being in the 127s, and takes that pole position away from Carpenter with a fantastic lap. I'm sure we're going to get into the 127s and maybe even the 126s as we get faster here. Another thing to note, we've got some extremely cool temperatures for our qualifying session, and the track is only at the fast conditions so far. So after these cars are out here rubbering things in and warming up the track a little bit, we may see it go to optimum, and that would increase our lap times even more.
I just realized there are no silver drivers driving the BMW. I was going to use that to get a read on how strong the BMW is around here. I personally have never driven it at length, but from what I hear, it wants to rotate very well, which is what you're going to want here through these high-speed corners and hairpins. I think the Porsche in the hairpins is going to be the car to watch. It has such incredible exit speed, and it can be super late on the brakes. But in the high-speed sections, you have to get your turn in just right. If you're a little too aggressive, or you get out of the throttle, you take too much brake, anything, the car can get unsettled. And, you know, best case scenario, you lose a few tenths. Worst case scenario, you're watching the field go by you.
That's right. And in that last one of the camera shots we had just a little bit ago, and we might come to it again here as we watch Simmons as he made a large jump up to P4, now already bumped to P5, but it looks as if you can see quite a bit more suspension movement, damper movement up and down, and I've heard that there's been an update to the way the dampers work in ACC, so we will see if that has an effect on the drivers tonight as we watch the suspension work over those curbs. It seems like you can see a lot more up and down movement in the tire inside the wheel arch, and that may very well affect just a little bit of difference as far as how things go here around the Red Bull Ring.
And April, let's see here. Yeah, it was yesterday, is when this update was pushed to ACC. I was looking at the hot laps before this, and a significant majority of the field was in the 27s. And keep in mind, for the viewers, during these practice servers, the conditions are very close to what you're going to experience in actual qualifying. So currently, they're about a second off. Half a second to a second off. I wonder if it is that damper situation.
Could be. Also, the cool track temperatures with the fast track. Yeah, if they were used to those conditions from the practice sessions, that they should be able to adapt to that. But it could also be just a little bit less rubbered in here, as they basically took to a fresh track when they came out. It wasn't green or anything, but it definitely was not as rubbered in as it could be when guys have been driving on it for an hour or so in the practice sessions.
Exactly.
We will see. We will see when the gold drivers take the track if we get to an optimum track status. With these cool temperatures, it's possible that even halfway through or even all the way to the end, that the gold drivers don't get an optimum track either.
Yeah, 10 minutes in, still sitting it fast. I think you're right. If we do see an optimum track, it'll be probably 5 minutes to go or less.
So far, Durant's holding on to that pole position. Don't really see anybody challenging. But yeah, Wilson extremely close, and Carpenter falls another position as Crown puts in a great lap to take P3. So our front two rows extremely close, about 15 hundredths separating our top four as we get ready to see what kind of race. The other thing I saw guys doing is kind of practicing their pit entry. It is a fairly tricky high-speed pit entry here at the Red Bull Ring, and getting that right for your pit stop could make the difference between taking a position and not here at the Red Bull Ring, as we see our gold drivers out there getting ready to set their hot laps. We see Dan Cran, who had a great race last week in the wet at Spa, and we will see if he can guide that Ferrari to some great things this week as well.
Currently, we have some mid-engine cars up front. Got a solo Mercedes currently. Let's see what the other Mercedes can do. We have Dromo and Cassis and Wilson here. Be anxious to see if they can hold a light to those BMWs. The Aston Martins don't look too quick tonight.
Yeah, the front engine cars might struggle around this track a little bit, but I'm curious to see how Manning bounces back after dominating the first 5 races of the season, where looking like he was going to win every race, and then having an off week there at Spa where he basically got the drive through and basically retired from the race after that. I'm interested to see how much that affects his mind game here. Is he going to come out swinging even harder this week? Is he going to take pole again? Is he going to be fighting for the win? Either way, he's pretty much wrapped up the Drivers' Championship. But he's a race car driver. He wants to win. There's no question about it. So I'm eager to see what kind of laps he's going to put in for us.
If I was a betting man, I would say he's going to be just fine tonight. I think it was kind of a one-off last week because he was pushing so hard, got those off tracks, and here he comes to start his first flying lap, Mr. Manning.
As we also keep an eye on Rados, had a fantastic race last week in the Honda, and we will see what he can do this week. I have to take a look back at the standings here from last week. I believe, yep, Rados was our overall winner after, unfortunately, as we said, Spangler ended up getting a drive-through right at the end of the race. And that put Rados up to P1 and Mr. Sir up to P2. Brooker Quigg also, fantastic race last week, getting that P3 and P1 in silver. So looking forward to seeing what those guys can bring back again this week. I know rain always kind of like makes things a little bit different for guys. So let's see now what they can bring for pace in a dry conditions around what is to some drivers a very new track.
And Mr. Manning
doesn't
straight
disappoint.
to the top.
Immediately breaks into the 127s with a 127.8.
I am expecting a lot from these Hondas tonight. They are incredibly strong on their power band. I think this will really suit them as long as the drivers can modulate that throttle coming out of the corners to get a good exit. I think these Hondas are going to be pretty quick.
They do get the power down if you can get it to lay down. So there's a couple of these corners that are really tricky to make sure you get the power on early on in the apex of the corner. As Manning goes even a little bit faster with that last lap, we see him drop it to a 127.6. All of our gold drivers now pretty much putting in 127 lap times. Dan Cran gets into the 127s. Codromo bringing it up with the Mercedes as well, as we saw Mercedes on provisional on pole for the silver class drivers. Spangler brings his car in just over the 128 mark to bring him to P5 as we take a look at Codromo and that Mercedes. Marecki setting a quick lap right now, but he seemed to lose quite a bit of time on the exit of that corner there. See if we can make it back up. Interested to see how these Astons stack up this week as well.
Absolutely. They were not too good in the silver category, but we have Mercer here closest to Manning, just at 10th off. You can find that just being a little braver on the brakes or getting a better exit.
Yeah, heck of a lap out of Mercer there. Basically would have taken pole if Manning hadn't set a slightly faster lap. And there he sets an even faster one again. Not much, but takes another 10th out of it. And
calls it a day.
Yeah, he might even pit, grab a set of fresh tires, and go one more time. But it could be that he's decided that's the best lap he's going to get, and he's happy with it. And we will see. Yep, looks like he's pretty much parked it, because he would have immediately gotten moving again if he was going to come out with some fresh tires. And Cran making some good time up on his lap. I do
believe he might be coming out. He just dropped off the jacks.
Okay. So he will give it one more go. I know Manning told us earlier in the season in one of his interviews that he definitely found that he could get the most out of the car in that first lap or two in hot laps, and then it wasn't worth he wasn't going to beat that time on his fourth or fifth lap around the track because he felt like he'd already burned the tires.
And we have Mercer up almost 3/10, and he's losing a 10th now. He's losing all that time. Such a vicious track.
Let's ride on board with Mercer here as he tries to take that pole position away. Manning's going to come back out of the pit to try to re-secure it, but boy, Mercer is losing time through these sweepers here as he tries to squeeze every last second out of this track. And he would have to make up about 3/10 to get back into the pole. See if he can get a good exit out of the final turn. He bounces over the curbs and does not get a very good exit, so he will lose time down to the start-finish line, as it looks like Mr. Sir pulled over there. He's finished with his qualifying session. He did not put in that great of laps. He's down in P9, so we'll see who else can hop up there. Spangler putting in a good lap, jumping up to P8, which drops Sir even further. And yeah, Sir even behind a couple of the silver class drivers, not finding the speed out of the BMW that Manning did tonight.
Not at all. Let's see, the closest BMW is 4/10 off.
Mr. Sir dropping further down the standings as more of our gold drivers put in some outstanding times. Nate Specht getting a 128 flat, so putting some time in with the BMW, and Lehman as well, also jumping in with the BMW. So teammates there, setting up to be right next to each other as we grid up for this race. And could be that another driver will slide it in there, but it could also be that Lehman, he's on a pretty fast lap right now. Got a good start to this lap, so if he finishes that, he will move ahead a couple more positions, as it is extremely close. We got about a half second all the way down to P15 with this grid as it stands right now.
And just 1 second down to 25th out of our 27 drivers tonight. And Manning isn't even approving with this fresh set of boots on his car. So.
Yeah, he was almost into the green delta there, but he's back in the red now, as he will try to make up just a tiny bit of time. But Koa Dromo jumps to second place and is on another hot lap now. If he could complete this lap with about 2/10 in the bank, he would be your pole sitter. He's been doing a fantastic job, just really consistent. He's probably the most consistent driver that we see.
Lehman with a heck of a lap.
Yeah, wow. Lehman puts another BMW in the front row with a 127.65. Only about a tenth off of Manning's time.
Doesn't look like he is under threat, though, from anyone behind. Nate Specht, currently a 10th up, but he still has a good 2/3 of the lap to go.
Codroma's got
find some time.
Sorry, Maxie.
No, go ahead.
Codroma's got a last corner here, as he is showing about 2/10 up. If he gets a good exit here, he's losing time down the front straight, but he'll still gain a 10th, which should. Oh, he didn't quite get it. Boy, he's 100th off from jumping to second place, but he will finish P3. And we got a couple more drivers out there looking to improve their time. Last second, Nate Specht, he's about a 10th up on his time right now, but losing a little bit of time through these sweepers. The BMWs don't like the long sweeping corners quite as much as the mid-engine cars, it looks like. And they lose a little bit of time towards the end of the lap here. Oh, he bails out there as he decided he wasn't going to be able to improve that lap time. So that is it, folks. We have your grid. Oh, Manning decides to put it in the wall last minute, as that was the finish of your qualifying. So there's your grid, folks.
Rados actually still on a lap.
Rados does jump to P12 with a last minute lap, getting that Honda up. Still no Hondas in the top 10. 2 BMWs on your front row, a Mercedes and an Audi in your second row, as we see front engine cars seem to be going towards the front there. BMWs and Mercedes and Aston all in your top 5.
Yeah, 6 out of our top 10 drivers, front engine. These Porsches, though, I'm very shocked about that. Our first Porsche's 21st place.
All right, let's get ready for our grid walk, as we will take a look at some of these awesome liveries that these guys have had pretty dialed in for the season at this point, but you've seen them before, as Maxie will count down our grid for us.
All right. We have an all BMW front row tonight. Started on pole position is Michael Manning, followed by Lehman. Coming up again with another front engine car tonight, Mr. Codromo and his Mercedes. Our first mid-engine competitor of the night is the Audi of O'Brien. Starting 5th place tonight in the Aston Martin is Mr. Mercer. Starting in 6th place is Cassis in his Mercedes AMG. Dan Cran starting in 7th, and Nate Specht alongside him in the BMW. We have Flanger in the Ferrari starting 9th place tonight, and Jeff Spangler starting in 10th place, our first mid-engine row. Mr. Marecki and Rados are on the next row of the grid, followed by Dominic Durant's there in his Mercedes. Gomer Wilson starting 14th tonight in his McLaren. Manning's teammate here, Mr. Sir, in the BMW starting 15th tonight. Let's see if he can call back some positions during the race. We have Mr. Crown in the McLaren starting 16th, followed by Kelvin Lau in another McLaren starting 17th. Gomer Wilson starting 18th tonight in his Mercedes. Carpenter and Fazli Majid here filling out the next row of the grid starting 19th and 20th in their Ferraris. First Porsche of the night is Simmons in 21st place. We have Draviz here in his Aston Martin starting 22nd. And a all Porsche row of Louis and Boardman starting 23rd and 24th. We have Ryder in his Aston Martin, followed by Semedo in the McLaren. And finishing out the grid in 27th place tonight is Archie in the Aston Martin.
As we get ready to go racing, we will try to catch all the action for you from the front of the grid to the back at the Red Bull Ring here, as it's going to be a long run down into T1 and then another one down the straight into T2 as we watch the cars get ready to go racing here for Division 1 racing with SRA at the Red Bull Ring.
As usual, in the picture-in-picture, I will have, starting at 21st place tonight, on board with Mr. Simmons in the helicam, so that way we can keep an eye on what's going on at the back of the field.
We'll bring that pip up now so you guys can get used to glancing your eyeballs down at that, as well as our main picture, as we try to bring you action from all ends of the field. Flamger's been fairly quiet this season, but man, he's a fast driver a lot of times, and that Ferrari seems to be fairly strong around this track in the hands of Dan Cran and him in the top 10 to start. As you said, we got Mr. Sir back in P15. He'll be trying to make up positions. He's going to have two silver drivers in front of him, though, that have no obligation to give up those positions as they start, as Danny Durant's will start on the silver pole position back in P13. A fantastic qualifying lap out of him.
And Wilson was one of the drivers there that is battling for the podium in silver. So Mr. Sir is going to have his work cut out for him trying to get around these two that are battling for their own championship. And like you said, there is no regulation telling them to get out of the way. They qualified ahead of that gold driver and is on that quotation marks faster driver to get around them.
Yes, sir. And interesting that the Porsches do not seem very strong at the Red Bull Ring at all. All down we got three Porsches in the race, P21, 23, 24. As the rear engine car seems to really struggle around this track. Normally they would be a little bit quicker on the corner exits and stuff like that. As Manning seems to be all by himself coming to the front straight. He seems to get a little bit of jump in front of everybody else, but we will get things ready to go racing as they round the final corner, lining up 2 by 2, looking a little bit like Noah's Ark out there. That must mean it's time to go racing here at SRA Division 1, Round 7 at the Red Bull Ring. We're excited to bring this one to you, the penultimate race of our season. As we get ready to go green, we have the two BMWs leading them down the straight, followed by the Mercedes Akoa, and he will be looking to make opportunities into that corner one as well. And we are off and away for SRA racing here at Red Bull Ring. It looks like Manning will hold that P1, but Koa, Dromo, and Lehman go side by side. Koa a little bit wide out of that corner, but he does make it up to P2. As we watch now, Lehman falling even possibly behind O'Brien as they will go side by side into T2, as O'Brien ekes just barely ahead of him under braking as he tries to hold that inside line, and they keep it clean, and the Audi does get a better run out of the corner. Lehman seeming to struggle off the start line here as he's under threat again from another Mercedes behind him of Casas, as they will go side by side into the tricky sweeping corners here that break up the second section of the Red Bull Ring. Lehman does finally seem to get things settled, and O'Brien gets a little wide, and sure enough, Lehman gets that position back up to P3 as Dromo and Manning walk away from these guys while they all battle and try to sort things out.
Incredibly clean first lap too. Dealing with these high-speed braking zones. Very good driving here, and I don't think things have settled down just yet.
Very tight pack here from 4th all the way to 10th position as these guys are getting bottled up behind the pack here. But Lehman then finally did get away as O'Brien and Cassis started battling behind them. And now it looks like Dan Cran dives into the pits and decides he doesn't want to deal with all that traffic. He's going to just get his mandatory pit stop right out of the way. And I believe we are with our standard pit rules tonight. So it will be just a splash and dash, and they will get going. So it will just be the 1 liter of fuel and then back on the track, ready to race.
I think that's a really good pit strategy here. Just going ahead and getting out of all that chaos in front of you and just start hot lapping and see if you can overcut anybody.
Lehman's teammate, Nate Speck, also seeming to struggle a little bit. Both the BMWs, it might be the setup those guys are running. A lot of times teammates run really similar setups, and they both seem to be just struggling a little bit to get out of the chocks here as the race kicks off underway. It seemed to be a little bit loose. A lot of side-by-side racing back here as Spangler and Durant's also going side-by-side. It looks like also we did have Mr. Sir. He must have pitted because he's all the way back, as he must have decided he also did not want to deal with traffic. Lots of side-by-side action here around this track as we watch these cars battle for all the positions they can get. Danny Durant's has fallen a few positions now, though, as we kind of expect some of those gold drivers will push quickly past to try to get up towards the battle up front. It looks like Rados now, though, is held up behind him and will be trying to pass, as well as we see other cars. It looks like Fazil Majid now diving into the pit lane. We also saw Nate Specht, it looks like, diving into the pit lane. Carpenter decides to get his pit stop out of the way as well, as these guys just don't want to be slowed down by the slower traffic around them.
Not at all, and it's not a big loss either coming down the pit lane tonight. 33 seconds in the pit lane. Now you do have to brake pretty heavily coming into the pit lane while the people are flat out. So that 33 seconds is not a true representation of how much time you're going to lose coming into the pits, but it's a good rough estimate.
You see O'Brien still under pressure here from Casas, struggling to get that Audi, but that Audi is a difficult car to master, but boy, it does have some speed when you get it right, and he definitely had the speed to qualify up there. Let's see if he has the race pace to hold it up there. Skodroma currently has the fastest lap of the race, a little bit faster than Manning on that last lap.
I think the overcut tonight is going to be mega. We have Dan Cran, who pitted there on the opening lap, currently running first of those who have pitted, and we saw Sir pit with him as well, and they all jumped Specht. And then Sir Majid pitted on the second lap. He is currently running second to last of those who have pitted. Let's say we have 3 more coming in the pits. Let's see if Dan Cran can get these guys, and I think the overcut's going to be the way to go tonight. Pit early and get back out there.
Yeah, if you can get some clear track, it's going to make all the difference around this track. Hot lapping here without any cars around you will definitely gain you a ton of time, especially through those sweeping corners. If you have to be offline through those where there's a little bit of banking and really hugging the inside curbing, gives you the most cornering speed through those long sweep corners. That is going to cost you a ton of time if you end up getting side by side or having to back off a little bit because the guy in front of you didn't get quite as good of a run through there.
And Cran gets around Cassis. Coming out of the pit lane, they were side by side, but Cran, tires already up to temperature, and doesn't get the best exit.
Cassis trying to get alongside of him again, and he does. And looked
think
like he just
Cran
kind
there
of
let
coughed
him
up
by.
that position. Yeah, he didn't want to lose any more time. As I said, going side by side around this track will cost you quite a bit of time. As we see a close battle here for P5 as Flamger tries to hold off Mercer. Flamger's widened that gap a little bit. Looks like Crown now. Something weird happening here. As that was just a weird blip in my telemetry. Apologies, folks. It looked like something weird was happening there, but everything seems to be fine.
Sometimes when they go off track here, they disappear from the telemetry, or they'll show a yellow flag, and in all honesty, they just ran wide. They're not losing any positions. They didn't have an issue. I think it's specific to this track. Go ahead.
Yeah, Durant's trying a little over-under move there on Lau, but couldn't quite get the run out of the corner, although he does have the run down the straight here now. He did get a better exit as he tries around the outside now. We had a difficult move to get done in that section of the track around the outside. We will keep you updated on the pit situation, but it does look like Cassis has maintained that lead of the cars that have pitted. Although Dan Cran overtook him at first, he was able to get back out in front. And it looked like Cran just kind of conceded that position after they raced a little bit. And Cran decided, you know what, this maybe isn't the fight I want to be in right now, so I will just back off and continue to run my own race. As we end up with a three-way battle now here for P8, as Rados has closed up quickly behind these two as they kind of have been sparring with each other through the last lap.
Yeah, I wonder if Cran's strategy here is to just try to put some pressure on Cassis and see if, you know, he can make him go wide, get a few track cuts.
Ooh, so close. They make a little bit of contact there on the entry to that hairpin, and seems like everybody comes out of it all right. But now Rados trying to look to the inside of Durant's as they come into the next corner here. Durant's taking it all the way out to the edge of the curve and try to get a good turn in here, as Lau will be a little bit on the back foot, but he does have that inside line through this next sweep right, and that makes all the difference as he can continue to hold on to that position. And it looks like Rados is going to try to sneak it around the outside here as well, heating up for some good three-car position battle here as we try to figure out who wants eighth place the most.
And we have Spangler getting around Mercer. Let's see here. I think Mercer might have had an off or something. He is all over the shop right now.
Yeah, he looks like he had a little bit of an incident here. Let's see if we can go back and see what happened. He got a little wide there. Almost looked like he might have had an equipment issue or something distracted him right there in the middle of that corner.
Yeah.
Jeez, almost came on back on track right in front of Spangler there. Spangler, great job to avoid that. And yeah, he continues to seem like he's having some kind of issue in that car. Looks like he's got a bee's nest under his butt or something. What is going on inside of that Aston Martin right now?
He is dropping place. He has lost 7 positions. I'm not sure what's going on. And his rejoin, too, was all over the place. It looked like maybe a wheel.
Yeah, he looks like he might be having some equipment issues of some kind as he continues to drop through the field here. The car just doesn't seem to want to go in a straight line. It's like he's having to constantly go left, then right, then left, then right.
I never saw a yellow flag with him.
Yeah,
I wonder if he has wheel damage. I'm going to hop on board here with him. And
yeah, he's all over the track. There seems to be something significantly wrong either with that car in the sim or with his setup in the real life world.
Yeah.
That's disappointing as he was running a pretty good race up there challenging for some of the top spots. We will keep an eye and see if he can recover from that, as meanwhile we still have a close battle here with Durant's, Rados, Crown now joining that fight as well.
Yeah, I don't think he has any in-game wheel damage. Going down the straightaways, his wheel is straight. So I think he's having some technical issues.
Some kind of calibration issue or something. Maybe the force feedback got messed up in those wheels. A lot of guys running some pretty advanced hardware setups here in D1, so most of them usually have it pretty dialed in for this, the main event, though. It's rare to see these guys get that issue, but it does happen, even to the very best setup. Louis closing the gap with that Porsche, trying to hunt down P12 with Ryder, as our silver class drivers have taken up occupancy pretty much P8 through P15 as they battle it out there on track. Looks like Marecki dropped all the way back as well to the very back of the grid. Our standings don't update quite as fast as our telemetry does, but there he is, as he did take his pit stop. So Louis continuing to try to chase down Ryder, and 2 spots back from him, Boardman trying to chase down Archie. These 2 teammates in the Porsches showing a little bit more race pace than they were able to find in the qualifying. Porsche maybe didn't like the cold temperatures. Manning sets the purple lap now. His best lap of 1:28.17, and even his last lap now faster than the rest of the field. So back to the form we've seen for Manning for most of the season now, stretching the gap over second place. But boy, Koedroma doing a fantastic job in that Mercedes, pulling even bigger gap back to Lehman in third, as these two just kind of run away with it at the front of the race. I'm sure they will just do their the usual strategy of the front runners and leave that pit stop to the very end. Lehman seems to have recovered from whatever struggles he was having early on, maintaining that P3 and stretching a gap back to O'Brien, running back here in fourth. He seems to have sorted out the Audi as well, as he's put some distance between him and Flamger, bringing up our top 5. Spangler, though, a big mover, getting up 4 positions to come up to P6. And Lau, also a big mover behind him, coming up 9 positions so far in this race. Some of those guys have benefited from other guys taking pit stops, so those aren't all active overtakes on track, but they have moved up quite a bit either way. Rados also up 3 positions, and a lot of guys further back up many positions there from pit stops so far, but they will, again, probably lose some of those positions back later in the race when they have to pit. Durant's still holding strong there, though, ahead of Rados. Durant's a silver driver ahead of Rados, a gold driver there. So doing a fantastic job, still putting the pressure on Lau in front of him.
Yeah, Cassis here is only about 15 seconds off of Boardman right now. He is absolutely flying right now, and Boardman hasn't pitted. We know Mercer's having issues currently, and it's looking like Cassis is about 10 seconds off of him currently. Everyone seems to be kind of settled down currently, except for this trio of Lau, Durant, and Rados.
Not a whole lot of tight battles out there on the track, as this is probably our closest gaps. Although Mr. Sir seems to be hunting down Nate Specht. He's trying to move up from P20 as he pitted early but also did not have his best qualifying effort as he started P15. So back 5 positions from where he started, but that is after his pit, and he will definitely make up some positions from there. This is definitely our closest battle as these guys continue to just kind of be backed up behind Lau here, as Lau seems to be struggling just a little bit more in that McLaren than in front of him. It looks like Gomer Wilson able to overtake Carpenter back here. Let's see if we can go back and have a look at that. It looks like Carpenter must have made some kind of error here for Gomer, because Gomer's quite a bit back from him. Yep, he had to avoid collision there as the other Wilson was just a little bit slower in that corner than he expected.
Rados is in the pits. I'm anxious here to see if Cassis is going to overtake him. My guess is yes, but let's see.
Lau also does finally give up this position to Durance, although they are still side by side. Lau trying to fight back around the outside, but boy, that would be a difficult overtake through T1 as they head off, T2, as they head off down the next straightaway to another very sharp corner down here. We'll see under the heavy braking if he can stay with him at all, but I'm willing to bet Durance, after getting past Lau, it looked like he was being held up pretty hard, so I'm imagining he's going to kind of start to build the gap now.
The overcut is on for the overtakes tonight. Cassis currently 15th, still the first of cars that have pitted. Rados, who was running up there in the top 10, dropped back to 20th place and 5 positions behind Cassis, and they started on the same row of the grid.
Wow, yeah, definitely. Pitting early seems to work as we continue to watch this battle. Now it looks like Lau's going to go to the outside here as he tries to look for a way back around Durance. Durance just not getting as good of an exit off that corner either. Has to leave it a little bit wide and allows Lau back in as Lau will go diving back inside. And we got some issues further back.
Yep. I believe that was Louis and Archie.
They came together. Let's see if we can get back on a replay here as we try to find out exactly what happened. Looks like Louis taking a little bit of an unusual line there, and I'm not really sure what he was doing sitting on the inside apex there, but Archie just did not expect him to do that and came right into the back end of him as I think he was trying to go and make a clean pit entry, and it was just not clear what was happening to the car behind him. Back to the action here. Sorry, Max.
Neither one of them. Yeah, I was just gonna say neither one of them fixed the damage that would have caused. They're probably going to be struggling through the sweepers now.
Louis gets a stop and go 30.
Ooh.
Must have been a speeding in the pit lane after that incident. He was probably a little bit shook up after that whole situation. Looked like he was maybe trying to adjust his pit strategy last second before he was diving in. Perhaps he didn't get everything set up, and in his concentration on that, he just was not as quick through the last corner into the pit entry as would have been expected from most of these D1 drivers.
Yeah, the pit entry here is incredibly dangerous. I'm sure a lot of our viewers tonight have watched F1, and it's always a bit scary, but you can't take that corner normally and still get over to the pit line, because that white line that defines the pit entry starts so early. You have to be on the apex going so slow. They really need to find a better solution for that, because it is dangerous.
Lot like Watkins right there, whereas if you actually obey the pit entry rules, you're actually being pretty dangerous to the cars behind you if they don't know that you're pitting.
Absolutely. And if you wanted to, I guess you could map a button on your steering wheel for your signal lights, but personally, the guy behind me should be watching my brake lights and how fast I'm going and be aware of that situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go slow on that apex if I'm diving into the pits. I shouldn't have to be notifying them of what I'm going to do.
Wilson and Carpenter continue to go back and forth for this position, as it looks like Wilson got alongside, overtook Carpenter on the inside. Gosh, they were so close you couldn't fit a piece of paper, but then Wilson having to check up on the exit so much that Carpenter continues to pull that Ferrari out down the straightaway as they fall back in line behind each other, but that gap continues to stay close. Lau now has stretched out a gap over Durant up here. They were battling so close for a while, and Durant may have just decided, you know what, this really isn't my race. I'm not fighting against this guy that's a gold driver of Kelvin Lau. I'm just going to stay back and make sure I keep my position good over Crown, who is still fairly close behind him in the second place for silver. Back to this race with Wilson and Carpenter as they get a little bit backed up behind the other Wilson, who earlier was braking so much earlier that it kind of caught Carpenter out sorts that he had to take avoiding action, which gave that position away to Gomer Wilson to begin with. I believe it was at this corner right here where he just was a little bit slow on entry and it caught Carpenter, and it looks like Carpenter was maybe guarding against it a little bit there. He was a little bit slow in the entry this time, trying to make sure that he didn't have that happen again.
I think we're into a doldrum area right now. We have the Crown Simmons battle currently going on, and this rider looks to be diving into the pits, maybe, or something weird might be going on with my telemetry.
Yeah, it's every time they cross the line, there seems to be this negative gap that pops up and falls through our telemetry.
Yeah.
So apologies, folks. That sometimes gets a little confusing for us as we're trying to watch the gaps as close as we can to see where the action is on track for you. This is definitely our closest battle here on the track right now, as Carpenter and Gomer Wilson get backed up behind, I believe it's Andrew Wilson. Sorry, apologies for that. As again, he's been just a little bit slow into some of the corner entries, but then gets that McLaren squared away and gets on the throttle early enough that it's very difficult for either one of the cars behind him to get an overtake done. Oh, wow, Wilson, Gomer Wilson getting real close to the back end of Carpenter there as they checked up a little bit through that corner. All these guys towards the back are going to filter up a little bit further up the standings, as our lead pitted driver in P13, Acasas, is he's only about 40, sorry.
Yeah, it's weird
He's
right
about
now.
40 seconds off of our leader. And, wow, the telemetry is really jumping around on this track. I think it has to do with ACC being a newer track. Something is just a little bit finicky with our telemetry here. So bear with us as we try to do our normal math for trying to figure out where guys are going to fall when they do their pit stops.
Yeah, it has something to do because when Manning passes the line, it'll then all of a sudden show Dromo at like a negative 1
gap.
minute 20. Yeah.
Yep. Until the next car crosses the line, we don't have an accurate gap on him, and even after that, it seems to kind of wander around a lot more than usual. So hopefully we can get things figured out here for you guys. Still have this tight battle though going on here for what is currently P19 through 21, but that should move up to almost
Top 10, I
a
would say.
top 10 spot. So that might be for the battle for the 10th position, maybe a little further back than that. It all depends on how much time our leaders lose. Manning is not building the gap that we usually see to P2, but P2 is still building the gap over P3. So Lehman quite a ways back there as he continues to fall back from Coadromo in second place, and then O'Brien about twice that back from him.
Manning must have saw my message. I told him keep it interesting tonight.
Hopefully he will, but so far we've got just a couple of battles out on the track. And welcome to Sword and Keyboard in the chat. Thanks for saying hi. Flamger here closing the gap down on O'Brien for P4 though. He's been bringing that Ferrari a little bit closer every lap. And don't know if O'Brien's trying to save those tires a little bit so he can have something to battle with at the end of the race, or what his plan is, but he definitely seems to have been losing some time. And we will see if that develops into something a little bit more exciting later on. Looks like Carpenter lost a position back here. Let's see if we can go back and see what happened. It looks like Marecki got inside of him. Or no, that's Gomer Wilson, sorry. Got inside of him, and then sure enough, we were blocked by the hill there, but I think they made some contact there in the middle of that sweeper corner and definitely threw him off his line. Looks like he lost that position and another, and now Gomer Wilson has decided to give all of those positions back. It looks like that, or he had his own issue. Let's see if we can go back and look. Did he? Yep.
Did he cut the track significantly, or?
No, he just decided, you know what, that was my fault, and I'm gonna penalize myself something's going on here. I think he was just giving himself a penalty, and rejoined from that position. That was a little bit strange though. He definitely gave back more than he gained. That was like an iRacing slowdown right there. So you know, you take a 1 second penalty and it costs you 5.
Right. So O'Brien being chased down currently. This Audi is so quick in a straight line. It is so funny. You just brought up iRacing. In iRacing, the Audi probably the slowest GT3 in a straight line, whereas in ACC, it's one of the fastest.
Yeah, it's interesting. Not many people using the Audi in either one of these sims. Although for a while there, the Audi was very powerful here in ACC, and then in iRacing, the Audi is the newest GT3 car additions, and not many people racing it. Still, a lot of people with the Porsches and other cars, but not a lot of love for the Audi.
No, not at all, and I'm not sure why, but and it was actually the car that I raced until the 296 came to ACC. And for our viewers at home, that is actually a 6-cylinder. I knew that all along.
Of course he did. As we watched Nate Speck try to close down the gap here on Dan Cran, he's been making some headway into that.
Into T1, they're having a battle here. Flamger and O'Brien.
Flamger trying to get that overtake done. That Audi pulling it on the straights, but looks like Flamger is going to do everything he can to try to dig that gap. And he was going to dive it down the inside. Oh my gosh, he sticks the nose in there just a little bit, but is going to get a poor exit because of that attempt. That was too far back. I would not have tried that overtake there, but he must be feeling like he's getting held up heavily to be able to want to overtake that aggressively, as he wants that P4 spot.
The Ferrari is one of the strongest cars on the brakes, so I'm assuming he feels like under braking, O'Brien is braking too early. Because on exit, O'Brien just kind of walks away from him, keeps the gap constant down the straightaway, and through the corner numbers just left me here, but the long sweepers.
So as we see, Flamger now has decided he's going to duck into the pit. And as was mentioned earlier in our chat, he did what has been kind of accepted as the indication that I'm pitting, which is to get over to the right side of the track very early on that straight, making it clear, like, hey, I'm going to the pit lane, so watch out. I'm going to be slow at the apex here. Spangler moves up to P5 with that pit stop. So Spangler continuing to move up here a little bit, but he will have to pit himself. Still hopefully hunting for a top 10 spot for sure.
We're going to ride on board here with Cassis and see if he can overtake Flamger. I think he will. Oh, yeah. So Flamger is still in the pit lane, hasn't taken the limiter off. Cassis blows right on by.
Indeed.
So overcut is the way to go. So anybody racing tomorrow night, pit early.
Looks like we had a redeemed hi, I'm new in the chat, so welcome, Dr. Bofa. Glad you're with us tonight. Hope you're enjoying the race as we check out the Division 1 action here at SRA. Specht has closed down this gap to Dan Cran quite a bit, taking a peek on the inside through that corner as we tune in on this action. Let's see if he can make any more headway against that Ferrari. Looks like they are playing all kinds of mind games against each other here. We haven't seen a ton of really good races on an H-Spec this season. He seems to have been struggling a little bit getting to grips with the BMW, but as seems to have some speed in the second half of this race as we're just over the halfway point.
Simmons making another run here at Crown. Might have him up into turn 1. Thinks better of it.
Decides to follow him through. Specht has not gotten quite the run on Cran as he did in the last lap here as he tries to chase down that Ferrari. A couple of spots around the track he seems to be able to get very, very close, but other spots, yeah, right there through that hairpin, he seems to be able to get the gap pretty small, but then the rest of the track, Dan Cran kind of stretching that out.
We have a nice front engine battle shaping up here with Durant and Marecki. I think everybody's starting to close back up to one another. We went through that kind of 20-minute doldrum, and everybody's starting to make some moves.
Yeah, as we see more of the pit stops filter through, we will definitely see more cars kind of getting filtered back into the mix. It's one of the things about guys pitting early to find clear air, as Nitschbeck does get alongside now with Dan Cran as they throw it into the final corner. Dan Cran does get out to the wide end of the exit, last two corners, but a good run on an H-Spec now as Dan Cran goes defensive down to the inside into T1. H-Spec gonna go say, okay, fine, I'll take that outside. Let's see what we can do here. And he'll see if he tries a little bit of over-under action. He does. Cran goes wide, goes ahead and takes that track cut, but still can't maintain the position and just kind of coughs it up at this point to Specht. What a fantastic overtake for him as he moves himself up to 13th position, and that is third of our pitted drivers so far. Looks like Durant's and Marecki now definitely side by side as they battle over 19th position. Durant still holding on Or did he just make the overtake? Yeah, he actually just moved into P19, but Marecki not letting it go without a fight as he continues to hold down that inside line, and he does get the inside line through this long sweeper. That will most likely put him back in front, as it's very hard to keep your speed up when you're not on the inside groove through these sweeper corners. Carpenter now, with the time they lost, as I talked about at the beginning of our broadcast, see, the story's coming back around that when two cars in front of you end up battling side by side through this section of the track, that third car is all of a sudden in the battle real quick because they've lost a lot of time. You can lose well over a second through that middle section of the track if you're trying to battle with somebody. Now Mr. Sir sizing up Dan Cran up here as well as he's closed that gap down. He's back to the position he started in, P15, and he has already completed his pit stop, so hoping to move up from there.
Yeah, I'm still just blown away how powerful this overcut is turning out to be. Cass is currently, though, first of the people who have pitted, still 5 positions down, but those should be pretty slam dunk overtakes for him.
Spangler seems to be closing the gap down to O'Brien for P4 as well. And Rados also closing down Drevis here for P16. Drevis is our silver class driver there, with Rados split between him and Wilson. Gomer Wilson not back in the running at all, as he decided to super penalize himself after that little bit of contact he made with Carpenter earlier in the race.
This battle right now for Drevis and Rados, Drevis needs to make sure he doesn't lose too much time here, because as it stands, when Crown and Simmons pit, he will inherit the lead of Silver. So if I were him, I might just let Rados go.
Wow, somehow he got a much better run out of the corner there than Rados. Rados seemed to maybe get a little bit loose in the tail of the car, trying to hold that inside line around that hairpin. Look, he watches the front end pretty wide through there, but then gets a better exit by turning a little bit later. They come out from behind the hill. He does have a tighter line through this part of the S's. See if that Honda can make up any more time on that Aston Martin as he comes to the final 2 corners.
Yeah, that was really weird. Usually if you want a higher exit speed, you'll take an early apex. Not sure what's in that Aston Martin, but it might fail post-race tech.
Rados gets inside of him into T1. That's a slam dunk pass. As you said earlier, I think Travis just decided, you know what, this isn't really my fight, and I don't want to lose too much time as far as how it goes in my race. So he looked like he just kind of conceded that position into T1 and didn't lose a lot of time. So he will hopefully come out ahead of some of the drivers that have yet to pit in front of him. Always lose time when you're driving in your mirror when you got a guy that's faster than you behind you.
Oh, every time.
Our top 10 at this point, though, is pretty well spaced out. Not a lot of exciting stuff going on there. Those are all our drivers that have not yet pitted. So the reason a lot of times we see spacing up there is because the drivers that have pitted have basically opened those gaps by removing themselves from that top 10 and hopefully found themselves some time. So when that top 10 does pit, they will slot back into very small gaps that have closed back up further back in the field, and we will see a very action-packed last 10 minutes of this race. We're at the 20, just under the 20-minute to go mark, and usually with about 6 minutes to go, we will really see things start to heat up as our top 10 will continue to dive into the pits. Crown, Simmons, and Ryder still out there in our silver class drivers that have yet to pit, and we will see where they end up. But Manning and Dromo out front. Dromo's been able to maintain this gap, about a 2-second gap to Manning, and whether that's Manning just kind of managing the gap, deciding, you know what, I don't have to go out and have a 15-second gap on these guys if I just stay a couple of seconds ahead of second place. That's all you got to do. You don't have to. You don't get extra points for beating the guy by 10 seconds compared to 2. It's all about if you're a tenth of a second in front of him when you cross that finish line for the last time. That's all it takes.
Starting to sound like Vin Diesel over there. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile.
Oh boy.
I will say though, I don't think any of our top 3 is under pressure from Cassis right now. Let's see here. When Cassis crosses the line, we'll be able to see an accurate delta, and currently it's sitting about 45 seconds. So let's see here. That would potentially, maybe Spangler should be watching that gap to Cassis, but I don't think anybody in front of Spangler should be too worried.
Cassis almost looking like he might be about to be held up here by Ryder, silver class driver in front of him, as he's closed that gap down quite a bit. As his teammate continues to hold down second place, he'll be looking to move into the top 10 here very quickly. And Ryder, if he was prudent, I would almost think he would want to pit at this point. If he's having to start to drive in his mirror, looking at what Cassis is doing back there, Ryder might just want to say, you know what, I don't want to have that distraction. I'm just going to go to the pit lane and find out where I come out. But he gets wide there onto the curbing, and Cassis is going to continue to close that gap. Gives him a little light flash down the straight here, like, hey man, I'm coming. You might want to get out of the way.
And last lap alone, Cassis 1 second faster. I mean, a whole second.
Yeah, he's coming quick.
If Cassis doesn't get around him coming up here to turn 2, he's going to lose a significant amount of time, and that P5 might disappear.
He's going way to the inside, making it very clear, going around you. And it does look like Ryder just says, you know what, you are going around me. I'm going to just let you do that and continue to run my race. As we've seen a lot of these silver drivers do, again, they're not really fighting for that position with that gold class driver. They care more about their race with the other silver class drivers. And if it's going to cost them time trying to argue over a position with a gold class driver, it might be fun for them. But it ultimately, if they're thinking of their strategy in the silver championship, it would not be beneficial for them.
Yeah, Ryder is going to be in a very tough situation. I know he's currently running 3rd in silver, but he's starting to be overtaken by the cars that have pitted, and there's a good chance he could fall back to maybe 22nd, 23rd place.
It's like Fazli Majid lost a position here to Gomer Wilson, as Wilson has started to undo the self-imposed penalty. What a fantastic overtake around the outside through that very tight corner going into the middle section of this course.
There's very few passes that feel better than an overtake around the outside. Just then you have the grip and can keep that speed up on the outside. But it also comes down to that driver on the inside, leaving that room. And to me, that's what racing is all about. Yeah, everybody wants to win, but having that door-to-door battle when you give a guy an opportunity to overtake you and you hold him off or he gets you, it doesn't feel bad. But now if somebody just flat out outbrakes you and drives away, that does hurt the pride a little bit.
It definitely does, but just knowing that you can go around the outside of a guy in this league and know that he's going to hold that inside line and not wash out the front end trying so hard and run into you. It's such a fantastic feeling to know that we have that kind of respect here at SRA. It's what makes the racing here great. And just a big thanks to these drivers for demonstrating that week after week. They've done a fantastic job all the way around, just demonstrating fantastic racecraft and respect for their fellow drivers. Well, we got a little bit of lull here before the massive action starts in the last 10 minutes of this race. Just want to give another big shout out to anybody who's tuning in into our stream. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Be sure to check out sra.gg. That's our website. That'll give you all the info about how to get involved here at SRA. It'll give you links to our Discord where you can find all the information on upcoming races. We have some really cool big events coming up with the recent updates to ACC. That's all I'm going to say about that. I can't leak any more right now, but we have large grid events. We have endurance events. We have multi-class racing. And then this is our crown jewel, our GT3 team series that you're watching right now. If you want to get involved, check it out, sra.gg.
I don't want to give away the date, but the 24 hours of the Nürburgring is going to be amazing, because if you can believe the grapevine, it's going to be GT3s, GT4s, and GT2s.
Sounds action-packed.
Oh, it's going to be interesting.
Going to be a little bit different than some other Nürburgring 24s out there, so that'll be fun to have that options of a slightly different classes of cars out there. And yeah, again, be sure to check it out. Tons of great events to get involved with, and again, great people who give each other respectful room to race and are always quick to either penalize themselves, or they will be penalized by our efficient and trustworthy stewards as well, who do a great job trying to keep things fair here at SRA. Yeah, Ninja Clown, man, great to hear you're signing up. We do have guys in the league that overcome the issues with the time differences. It is a little bit difficult. We do race usually at 9 p.m. for most of our feature events, which can be a little bit tricky because that's probably, from what I understand, that would be very early in the morning for you over there. But welcome from Sweden, man. Glad you're tuning in.
Okay, is that a 6 or 7 hour time difference to Eastern time?
Probably have to ask Ninja Clown there. What time is it over there, Ninja Clown? It's 4:30 in the morning right now. Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay. 6 hours.
Yeah, that's gonna be rough, man. You're gonna be pretty committed to run our feature events, but you could update the leaderboards while everybody else is sleeping, so you might have that going for you.
I get the track to yourself.
All of a sudden we wake up and you smoked everybody's lap time. It's not gonna make everybody push that much harder the next day. Nate Speck's been closing down this gap to Flamsier now for quite some time. He has found quite a bit of speed in the second half of this race out of that BMW. And he's about our closest gap here on the track as he continues to try to push. He does seem to be pushing that BMW awful hard. Let's jump on board here. Boy, he closes that gap every time. And that Ferrari, as Maxie said earlier, very strong under the brakes. So the fact that Specht is closing it down under braking is just a testament to how hard he's pushing this BMW right now.
And it is, you know, like I said earlier too, is I haven't driven the BMW at length, but the way it rotates is like nothing else the other front engine cars can provide. It almost feels mid-engine, but you still have that safety and stability. Oh, and we have Carpenter getting wide. I think Wilson might have him into the middle sector. He's looking on the inside, sending it.
On board here as Carpenter gets around him.
That was some beautiful side-by-side racing there.
That was great. As Durant gives up another spot. Carpenter there taking a silver class spot away, as Durant was our pole sitter in the silver drivers here at the beginning of the race, and has lost a few positions now. He will be, it looks like he will be P3 currently in silver, depending on where pit stops fall too. Crown and Simmons could possibly end up in front of him as well, depending on how those fall. Things started to tighten up here.
Wilson getting overtaken right now. Or excuse me. Yep. And Marecki goes up the inside.
Boy, Marecki is making moves up through the course right now. Both Marecki and Carpenter just making moves through this course as they continue to overtake people.
I can't help but think maybe Wilson was giving that position up so he wouldn't lose too much time and can just follow Marecki, because Marecki's a gold class driver, Wilson's silver, and maybe hold that 3-ish second gap over Carpenter till the end of the race.
Yeah, he might have even seen Carpenter overtake Durant's behind him and thought, man, Carpenter's coming. He's got some speed right now. I don't want to battle here and get swallowed up by that situation. So Marecki gets that overtake done. Either way, moves up to P18 as we are soon going to have action heat up here as all of our top 9 and P11 have yet to pit. They're going to have to do that sometime in about the next 5 minutes, as our pit window has about 6 minutes left on it. And there's nothing worse than realizing as you start another lap going by the pit lane that, oh shoot, I'm not going to make it back around in time to make this pit window. So these guys are going to make sure that doesn't happen. All of them have it timed out pretty well at this point. They've been lapping this track all week. They're pretty familiar with how long it takes to get around it and how soon they need to dive into that pit lane.
About 3 to 4 laps if you're crossing the line right now. So it'd take about 6 minutes to do 4 laps around here.
Simmons, our smallest gap right now to Crown here as they fight for P1 in the silver class. Simmons bringing that Porsche to life here late in the race as he tries to track down that McLaren of Crown to take away what is currently the top spot in silver. We're going to have to see where that falls, as both of these guys have yet to pit, and one of them is going to blink first here, or they probably will. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. If one of them goes in, is the other one going to stay out? Are both of them going to leave it until there's no option but to go in? If I was Simmons, I would try the undercut right now just for this one spot. Just for this. If he feels like he's being held up even in the smallest way by Crown, if he dives in and gets a fast outlap, Crown pits the next lap, he could overtake him that way.
Yeah, and if he nails that pit stop, there's a good chance he could come out in front of Andrew Wilson in 19th right now, which is currently, what, P5 in silver? P4?
Yeah.
And Lehman, first of our front runners to hop in. Let's see where
All
he
right,
comes
Lehman
out.
from P3 jumps into the pits. Dromo still holding down less than a 2-second gap to Manning out front. They have yet to pit. Lehman, we will see where he comes out of the pit lane. Currently, Simmons and Crown stay out, decide not to pit. Boy, if
Starting to see a lot more invalidated laps here. People are starting to push.
Yeah, If I was Simmons crew chief, man, I would have told him to pit that lap, almost undoubtedly. Lehman looks like is going to come out. He's already down to P9. So it looks like he's going to hold down P9 just a hole ahead of Cassis. So he did maintain that, although he was ahead of him before they pitted as well. So it's not a huge indicator of the undercut or the overcut being a big dominant issue here. But Lehman now comes out P9 after that pit stop, and we will see where the rest of the top 8 fall to, as they have not pitted yet, and we will see that happening in the next 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
I think the only person in jeopardy right now is Lau in 5th place. I think Casas has a pretty good chance of overtaking him.
And Lau has done a great job. Earlier, he was in a pretty tight battle. Seemed like he was kind of the cork in the bottle, but now he's built out a pretty decent gap, and he's been running some clean lines, doing a great job for the delinquent road hazards there for his team. And Specht, though, continuing to close down this gap to Flamger out back as well, hoping to take that P12 away, which will possibly move up to a higher spot. We've got a lot of people in the pit now.
Into the pits. This is the one I'm interested in.
Spangler, Mercer, Simmons, O'Brien all dive to the pit lane. Looks like Ryder decides to move it in as well. So only our top 3 basically stay out of the pit lane.
And look, Spangler back to P9, Cassis up to P6.
See if we can sort this out for you. Nate Specht jumps up to 9th place, still hot on the heels of Flamger. Spangler's going to come out right behind them in P10.
It's got to be so frustrating as a driver, running P4, P5 all race, and now 6th or 7th.
Mr. Sir, after things start to sort themselves out, has moved himself to P12, so up 3 positions from where he started there in P15.
Manning and Droma in the pits.
Our last 2 to pit. Sorry, looks like Crown is still yet to pit up there as well, and Lau. So these 2 are going to, they will have to come in, as they are our final 2 cars. And boy, they are going to be cutting it close. They have got to hurry around the track to get back in their pit lane. But we've got a pretty tight battle now up through 9th through 11th here. Sorry, 8th through 11th. As Specht continued to put that pressure on from the BMW. So Lau, Crown into the pit lane now. Manning and Dromo stay out front, P1 and 2. No position change there as they pitted together. Fantastic race out of Koa. Kind of coming out of nowhere. Haven't seen a ton of them this season. And bringing it to P2 with 1 minute left to go in this race.
And switching to that Mercedes. He started the season in the Audi, and a few races in, switched over to that Mercedes.
The Audi was such a difficult car to master this season. Crown falls all the way back to 21st with his pit stop. Specht still putting the pressure on here in the closing lap, trying to find a way around Flamger. He's been hungry for that spot. Definitely see a lot more wheel movement in the cars than I ever saw before in this sim, and I have to think that's due to the updated damper package.
Yeah, usually it was kind of a flapped car, and now even mid-corner you can see that wheel moving. Hopefully that did away with the whole minimum and maximum on the dampers, almost a cheat code. But if everybody's doing it, is it really a cheat code?
Yeah. So Casas comes out P4 after that early pit, bringing it home with a fantastic finish, man. Early pit, and so, oh boy, here we go. Specht trying for the P6, trying to get around Flamger as they're getting into the final corners, or the first couple of corners of this lap. They do have this whole lap to battle this out. We will see. And as I said early on in the broadcast, this brings Spangler right into the mix. So these three could possibly be battling all the way through the final corner of this lap, as we see if they can sort this out to see who comes home with the P6. As we'll keep an eye out front on Manning, looking to finish this race again in first place. The only race he didn't win this season so far was last week in Spa in the rain, bringing home a fantastic, another dominant race here as he qualified on pole and led from start to finish. Specht falls a little bit through the middle of this course, but boy, he was right on him at the beginning of that lap. We will see if he can close that gap again here at the end, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like Flamger is going to hold on as they round the final corner onto the front straight, leaves that gap out front. And boy, Spangler sure closed the gap on Specht there, though, but they crossed the line. And as we get the finish for there's our top 10. Manning out front, Coadromo finishing second, Lehman bringing it home third, Casas doing a great job to bring it up to P4. O'Brien drops to P5 after his great qualifying effort. Flamger holding on to P6 over Specht. Spangler, Dan Cran, Mr. Sir rounding out your top 10. Rados brought it up to P11 as guys having a little bit of fun as they finish the race.
Seconds. That was incredible. Rados at the beginning of the lap overtook Mr. Sir, and in the final corner, Mr. Sir got around Rados.
Fantastic job from everybody here in D1 as these guys are finishing out their lap. We had 26 drivers finish our race. I think. What are these guys doing here? Looks like he's getting a push to the finish line, maybe. Archie, not enough fuel in the car, maybe, as he's trying to get around to the final part. Who is that? I believe that's Boardman that is pushing him as he just keeps tapping him towards the finish line. And we
gotta love it.
A little bit of teamwork here from guys that aren't even on the same team, as he will round out the end of our positions this evening. Again, just kind of the stuff you see here at SRA. It's just kind of comical finish to our race. That's funny. Oh man, Polly, that's not appropriate. What do you? You shouldn't say that in the chat. Oh, fantastic race again from our D1 drivers, as we will try to get some post-race interviews here, and we will get their perspective on some of the fantastic racing that we got to see here. Manning out front again, recovered quickly from that little bit of a disappointment there at the wet Spa. As you said, Max, he didn't seem like he was the type of driver that was going to get affected by that too much, right? I mean,
yeah, he's won pretty much every single race this season. I think if he wins next week, he will have taken maximum points, albeit didn't get pole at a couple races. So that'll probably annoy him. Next season, he'll probably be trying to get pole and win every race.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to Max Verstappen this sucker, right?
Right.
So let's see who we can find in our chat to drag into our booth and barrage with questions. You know what? Let's start with Mr. Manning, our race winner, once again, as we will move him up to our commentator's booth. Michael Manning, you got Dudley Do-Right and Maxi Poe here in the booth. Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Hey, man, congrats on another race win for the season. That's 6 out of 7 so far. You know, we commented a little bit. It must have been a little bit of a disappointment with the race last week at Spa, but you came back strong this week. Tell us what it looked like out there from your perspective.
It was really solid. I've never done a race here before. Started my initial laps yesterday, and it felt good. I mean, I know this track from other games, so wasn't completely new, but I was really excited, and the pace, I just found the pace really quickly. Made a couple setup changes, and it felt very solid.
Did I hear you right? You said you started your laps yesterday?
Yes. I mean, it's a simple track. there's not too many corners to learn, and again, I knew it from other stuff, so it was just learning it the ACC way. And the only corner that I was having trouble with was the last corner, because at least in the BMW, you cannot smash the brakes if you don't want to leap off that outside curbing. You need to ease on it and not have the front dip too much, so it like kind of rides over it. But yeah.
Amazing, man.
Well, yeah, absolute. Were you just holding that 2-second gap behind, or were you pushing the whole way trying to build that gap?
I pushed quite a bit at the start, just trying to get into the swing of things. I did notice I was turning the steering wheel like a lot. I was inducing a lot of understeer, and that bit me towards the end. But no, I was pushing a lot, and then I got my first off track on the last corner because I did brake too much, and after that I was just like, okay, just take it easy, just manage the gap. And then he started reeling me back in again, and I was like, I gotta get going again. I started pushing again, and the pace was still there. It was very, very understeery, but the pace was still there. I did learn something halfway through the race where you cannot brake nearly as well on the curbing. You know how you have to like straddle all the curbs?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot have one of each side of your tires on those curbs with worn tires. You lose so much time. So at the end, I probably gained like 0.2 a lap just because I started braking on the track. But yeah.
Yeah, we noticed, at least I was noticing a lot more up and down movement in the suspension on the cars, on the curbing, whether it's this track that has slightly different design on the curbs, or is it the new damper update that made things a little bit different as far as how the car responds to the curbs, and like you said, the braking when the tires are worn a little bit. It did seem like there was a little bit of difference there. Did you have to make any adjustments with the recent update or anything like that? Was there a dramatic change for your driving style at all?
I honestly can't tell any change. I mean, I never drove here before the patch, so I can't say much there. But I did still run the meme dampers, 0 or min max. And it felt completely fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that was going to be the case. I'd be interested to see what the Motec data says, but
Right.
yeah, it still seems to be the fastest way around the track.
Yeah, I was shocked with the tire wear. I did a tiny donut at the end of the race, but my right rear, including that donut, my right rear was at 0.96, which
Wow.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know how, because I was just getting understeer. Like I couldn't even feel that. So, yeah, I'm shocked. I had no idea it would be like that, but yeah.
Well, either way, man, fantastic race. Way to manage it. Way to keep that gap. Solid 2-second gap, pretty much, to Koa the entire race. We're gonna get his perspective next and see how hard he was pushing to try to keep up with you. But before we send you back to the race chat, anybody you want to give a shout out to here before we send you back?
Shout out Bailey Kish for doing the driver's briefing. Pretty solid. Had to take it in control from Jason. Other than that, I don't think so. I'm happy to bounce back from Spa, 'cause that was pretty demoralizing. I mean, I was still like having fun, but like, man, that drive through just halfway through the race, it's bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, great job, man, and we'll probably see you again next week to finish out the season. At this point, you've pretty much clinched the Drivers' Championship and the Team Championship, so congratulations on both those, as you are our Division I winner, man. Fantastic work.
Very nice. Thank you.
Yep. Congratulations, man! Incredible season. I'm rooting for you to just go ahead and take that win next week. I don't know if that's an SRA first, but it'd be nice.
Oh yeah, I'm trying my best. It's been 10 seasons of just hanging on, so this one's making me happy.
Awesome, man. Congrats again. We'll send you back to the race chat to celebrate with your buddies.
Thank you.
Have a good night. All right, that was your winner and your D1 champ and your D1 team champ, Michael Manning, as he dominated another race here, took the pole, and led from start to finish. And we will see now in the booth the man that tried to chase him down all night, Coadromo, kept that 2-second gap alive for the whole night. Let's see what he has to say about it. Coadromo, you got Dudley Do-Right, Maxi Poe here in the booth. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, what's up, boys?
Hey, man, fantastic effort out of you tonight with bringing home P2. Congrats on a great race. Looked like you were trying to chase down that. You held like a 2-second gap to Manning the whole time. How hard were you pushing to try to catch him?
I mean, I was pushing like hell. I have to, when it comes to Manning, I mean, like, I was almost kind of wondering if he was just like not even going at like 100%, because like, you know, there'd be some laps where I was quicker. Then like towards the end, he did like a 28.3. So I just kind of figured he could like really drop the hammer when he wants to, you know. But I mean, I was pretty consistent, so you know, I'm not mad at that at all. And just being able to finish within like 3 seconds of him is not bad.
Yeah, we actually asked him that in the interview just now, if he was just trying to maintain that 2-second gap, but he said he was pushing the entire time, so you kept him honest, and you kept him honest more than anybody has all season.
Okay. Well, Alvarado, I think, was closer in Kyalami, and then I guess it was about the same at Indy between me and Michael. So, yeah, it should be closer though, but he's just
Right.
damn quick.
Right.
Yeah, he said he was managing quite a bit of tire wear at this track and found some strange things with as the tires wore, braking on the curbing. Did you experience any of that stuff in the Mercedes?
No, I mean, Mercedes felt awesome on race pace. Even towards the end, I pretty much matched my PB in the race. Tires went away kind of like 20 minutes in, but then they came back. But yeah, he said he had like 0.9 wear in the back, but he also did a donut at the end. So I don't know how much that warmed down, but I was at like 1.4. So yeah, it's a pretty big wear difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
1.4 even though
massive.
that's pretty heavy tire wear itself. I mean, anything under 1.5 is basically consumed. Were you struggling with the car at all, or you said you were still maintaining your PBs at the end, huh?
I mean, it was pretty consistent the whole way through. I think my worst lap was maybe like 0.4 or 0.5 up. So all considered, yeah, it's not bad, I don't think, at least for me. So pretty happy with it. And Lehman, he was hauling ass too. Like, he was maintaining the gap for most of the race. I got lucky that I started on the outside at the beginning, because, you know, I had all that extra runoff to like really kind of make sure that I could keep my speed up a little bit and not have to like worry about the inside car, you know, or the outside car hugging it or anything. So that definitely helped. And then I think him and O'Brien went side by side, which kind of opened up the gap to begin with. But after that, yeah, he was pretty much maintaining the whole time too. So props to him as well.
Yeah, fantastic job from our top three overall. You guys had extremely consistent race. Lehman did seem to struggle there off the start, which did give you a little bit of a jump there. But, man, fantastic, consistent laps out of you for the whole race time. Congrats on a P2. Headed into our final session. What do you think about our race next week?
I love Silverstone, but I haven't driven it in a long time. So we'll see how that goes, I guess. But, yeah, I like the track. Super fun for racing. So whether my pace is good or not, it should at least be a fun one.
Awesome, man. We look forward to seeing you compete there. Anybody you want to give a shout out to while you're here on the podium?
Shout out to my dad. He was in my Twitch chat saying to remember the pit rules and all that stuff. So yeah, no warning or anything coming after that. So yeah, shout out to him. Yeah, and the whole Pillars team. They had a rough one in the practice race, which I wasn't there for it, but we had some pillars on pillars killing. So luckily none of that this week or tonight.
Yeah, great. Always good to have family support. So thanks for tuning in, Dad. And congrats again to you, Koa. We'll send you back to the race chat.
For sure. Thanks, guys.
All right. We will get him moved back to his race chat, and we will bring in our third place finisher, Lehman, and we will also try to make time to get Drevis, our P1 silver driver, if we can hunt him down and see if he will make himself available for an interview. But first, let's bring our third place Canadian driver here. Matt Lehman, you got Dudley Do-Right, Maxi Poe here in the booth. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I got you guys. What's going on?
Hey, man. Hey, congratulations on a P3 tonight. Saw you maybe struggle a little bit there at the start, but otherwise a very, very consistent race. Great job. Congrats again. What did it look like from your perspective out there?
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, you're totally right. My lap one was just garbage. Like, I had a bad start, got overtaken by Koa, then had to fight to keep P3 from Peter. So, not great. But aside from that, it was pretty uneventful. Michael and Koa both had the pace on me, so there was nothing there. Best I could do was aim to keep P3 and was able to do that. So, definitely happy to be up here. Haven't had a podium since like last summer, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, those droughts can really start to hurt the confidence. You drove incredible tonight. Never looked under pressure from anybody. So,
yeah,
congrats on your third place and getting back up there. And hopefully, this is a good sign of things to come for you.
Yeah, it's definitely a step in the right direction, but definitely still way off pace from Michael there. So, still got a lot of work to do.
Well, don't feel bad. There's about 30 other drivers that are way off that pace.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's been kind of untouchable this season, but you were the only other BMW to put it on the podium. So, yeah, fantastic job, man. And what do you think you're going to see coming into Silverstone for next week?
I think we'll see a Michael Manning Shui. That's basically guaranteed. And then battle's on for P2, really. So we'll see. We'll see.
How do you feel about the track? You feel like you got some speed there? Are we going to see you in the booth again?
I don't know about that, honestly. I've never been all that great at Silverstone, and it's not really one of my favorite tracks. So I'll still put in the practice, get some good laps in. But quality pace, we'll see. I've just been struggling a little bit on race pace, so we'll see how it translates over there.
Fantastic, man. Well, congrats again. Anybody you want to give a shout out to while you're up here on the podium?
Yeah, just shout out to, my teammate Nate, everybody over at Champion Motorsports. Certainly been doing good, setup wise, just, knowing that we've been struggling compared to past seasons, but just continue to work away at it, just chipping away, make the gap smaller.
All right, man.
That's all you can do in racing.
Yep, I'm straight.
One piece at a time. Well, congrats again, man. We'll send you back to the race chat. Enjoy your evening, and we will hopefully see you again.
Cool. Take care, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. That was your third place finisher, Matt Lehman, as he brought his BMW, the only other BMW in the podium. I believe the only other BMW that's podiumed all season besides, or no, I guess Mr. Sir did get on the podium at least one time as well. But otherwise, it's been Manning just driving the wheels off that BMW all season. And we are on the lookout for Landon Drevis. If we can find him anywhere in the chat, or if anybody has a way to DM that guy, we'd love to get. It does look like he's in the chat. All right, let's bring him up, our first place silver driver of the evening. Hey, Landon, you got Dudley Do-Right, Maxi Poe here in the booth. Can you hear us okay?
Oh, yeah, what's good, guys?
Hey, man, we wanted to just reach out, give you a great congratulations on your P1 in the silver class in this race tonight, and just get a little bit of your perspective on how things looked out there for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, boys. It was a fun race. I got mugged on the start, like absolutely lost a couple positions. Knew I was at a place, so I went for the early pit, and that ended up being the right strat. I was able to just kind of tag along the gold drivers at pit early too. Wilson, who was the main competitor for the silver, he came in early too, and when he came out the pits, I was right behind him. Saw my opportunity. I admittedly, looking back at the replay, didn't really think the move was on, and then Wilson, he's a respectable driver. We've raced each other now through a couple seasons, and he gave me the room. I was coming a little hot, and it felt clean enough, and so we went on and was able to gain a bit of time on him throughout the race. lost a bit of time running through some traffic, and then by the end of it, he had me sweating. He was within like a second and a half with Marecki right behind him. I thought it was over. I was telling my teammate, I just wish this race was done 2 laps earlier. But it was great. Yeah, I'm stoked to have finally got the silver win. It feels like I had some pace and actually belong in this D1 squad now.
Well, man, you definitely belong here. You've had, good results for most of the season. Everybody has, races where things go wrong, but you definitely belong up here.
That's it for sure. Like the last two races I was in, I was able to get pole and then bottled the finish somehow, either pit entry. I think it was pit entry too fast at Indy, and then I had like an 18-second pit stop at Valencia. Just not great. So this time I wasn't on pole and was able to keep a clean race. Maybe that's the trick.
Yeah, too much pressure up there at P1, right?
That's what I'm saying. Oh, it is fun.
Well, congrats again, man. Great job. P1 and silver tonight. And you've just had, as Maxie was saying, a pretty great season all around. How do you feel going into Silverstone next week?
Love Silverstone. I think it was season 6. It was one of my better seasons I had in SRA, and it was between me and I think it was Chilcutt, and we were going toe-to-toe the whole race in that last lap. I still go watch the replay, honestly. It's pretty great. We're side-by-side for after lap. Love the racetrack. Love that it's the season finale again. I can't wait to start doing some laps at it. It's going to be a great time.
Fantastic. And if you want to go toe-to-toe with Alex Chilcutt, just come on over to the iRacing Sports Car League. We got room over there for you to do some great racing against him.
Sounds like a great time. Nice plug.
Yeah, we need some drivers to fill up the field for our next race, or it's going to be a pretty empty track over at Le Mans.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Speaking of plugs, want to shout out Triple Stint Racing and their gloves. Ever since I received my care package from them, I've been I found a second and a half of pace in D1 alone, which is what has propelled me to this victory tonight. Couldn't have done it without the support of Triple Stint and bendybrew.com. Get your flexible coffee maker, shopbendybrew.com, and Ghost Rider Racing, of course, the best conglomerate in all of SRA.
That was an A-class shout-out, man. Fantastic work. That is the best podium shout-out we've had all season. The award goes to Landon Drevis. Fantastic work all the way around driving the car and in the booth tonight, man.
Appreciate it, boys. Yeah, thanks for all you do casting and whatnot. Love watching these streams back again, and really appreciate you guys volunteering for it.
Hey, no problem, man.
Do it.
Yeah. Glad we can get to interview awesome people like yourself. We'll send you back to the race chat. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks, boys. Later.
See ya.
That was your silver first place finisher, Landon Drevis, with one of the A-class shout-outs I've ever heard from the podium. Jeez, he sounded like a straight-up NASCAR-sponsored driver there for a second. This is got in.
Can't wait for Powerade's release of Mystic Mountain Blueberry.
That was awesome. And as we wrap things up on our broadcast tonight, Maxie, I'd love to hear your concluding thoughts on this race.
Out front, we knew what was going to happen, but the battles that we saw all night long throughout the midfield and further back was just incredible racing, side by side. I think there was one major contact, and that was because of the pit lane. I don't think that was anything down to the drivers. And then there at the end, we saw the two guys finishing 26th and 27th tonight, pushing each other across the line. Just love the sense of community here and the incredible racing that community provides. The respect for one another is really what I'm going to take away from this race.
Awesome thoughts for sure. All of those things. I want to just thank all these D1 drivers, man. They make it so interesting and easy to do these broadcasts because they just keep things interesting all night. And Nate Specht, with the big push there towards the end, trying to take P6. Jeff Spangler trying to push it from back. Mr. Sir bringing it all the way to P10, starting P15. Great drive out of him tonight. Kelvin Lau did a great job holding down his position early on with lots of pressure as well. Gave us lots of good times. Mercer, I'd love to hear what happened with him as far as the equipment malfunction. That's kind of a running story there. Hopefully we can get filled in on that. Be sure to check in at the race chat, and maybe we can get some info for you guys on the next broadcast. And our next broadcast next week, our finale at Silverstone. Division 1, we will wrap it up with round 8 of our season 10, as we will bring you all the action. The Drivers' Championship may be decided for our gold, and so will the Team Championship, but that Silver Championship is heating up, folks, and we will bring you all the action. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday night, same time, same channel. We'll see you then.